A pleasant evening to you, Guyana, and welcome to another program of Let's Talk with Annette for tonight, Wednesday, the 10th day in the month of April in the year 2024. But anyway, before I get into the program proper, let me also take this opportunity in welcoming or shouting good night to those of you who are joining me via my social media official page, Honorable Annette Ferguson. I also want to wish you a pleasant night. Um, I must apologize for not being here last Wednesday, and I was trying to do a makeup last Friday, but circumstances beyond me did not permit such. But it is always a pleasure when you can come into studio and to share with you credible and factual information. So I just want to encourage you to call a friend, text a friend, and let them know they need to tune into Channel 9 because, Ferguson is on tonight. The program Let's Talk is on tonight because we have so much to discuss. And once time permit, I would like to open up the phone lines so that I can hear from you what you have to offer on tonight's program. That being said, once again, welcome to Let's Talk for tonight. And I trust that our conversation will be one of much importance and, as I said before, a lot to share. Allow me this opportunity to extend birth anniversary greetings to those of you who are having a birthday today or a wedding anniversary. So I just want to extend best wishes to you. And as you celebrate, you just not celebrate for celebration's sake, but you reflect on the past year and perhaps what you set out to achieve in this new season. I also want to extend my deepest condolences to those of you who might have lost a loved one. I trust that you will find solace and may Almighty God continue to comfort you in this time of bereavement. So may you also draw strength. So may your loved ones rest in peace and rise in glory. On the announcement, I know since I wasn't here last week, and I know last week before the last, we had a long weekend. We had Good Friday, then we had Saturday, then Resurrection Sunday, and then we had Easter Monday. So I trust that you were able to enjoy your Easter with families and friends and, persons who you may not have seen for years. I know many Guyanese usually come back during this period to celebrate Easter in Guyana because Easter celebration in Guyana, in the rest of the world, you don't get a kind of, what should I say? You don't get a kind of joy, you don't get a kind of happiness that you would get here in Guyana. So I trust that you had an awesome Easter holiday. I also want to extend my best wishes to those of you, the youngsters who made Guyana proud, placed us on the map, the world map once again. I know for a fact about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, they attended and participated in the Carifta Games for 2024 there in Grenada. And gold medals came back, or bronze came back, and silver medals came back. So once again, best wishes to you young athletes. And I can only urge you and encourage you to keep pressing on, keep representing, keep doing what you're doing, and continue to place Guyana at the top of the world. We're kind of special people. I also want to say, it was so good to see parishioner priest Monzel Alves at the senior reverend at the St. Sidwell's Anglican Church in Vincentian Road. I think one of the athletes attend that congregation, and they were able to honor him for his achievements and congratulated him also. Things like these little things go a long way. And I just want to encourage others, whether business people, whether those in our community, senior and reputable persons in our community, we must be able to celebrate with those who celebrate, right? Schools, this new week, I know that schools reopened last Monday, April 8th, 2024. And many of our pupils and students turned out in their numbers. This is the last term for the August holiday. And many students will be preparing for the CSEC examinations, which will roll out in May, that is next month, into June. So I know a lot of work will have been put in and will continue to be put in, because SBAs had to be completed, submitted in a timely manner for marking at the exams division there. And our little ones who are preparing to head from primary school into high school, they too are preparing, or they're being prepared for their exams. The National Grade 6 Assessment 2024, I think, will come off between the 4th and the 5th, if my memory serves me accurate, or the 3rd and the 4th of next month. So I know parents are really working hard with their little ones to ensure that they succeed at those upcoming exams. So once again, continue to prepare. The old saying, if you prepare to fail, you fail to prepare, right? So I don't want you to prepare to fail, right? I want you to prepare to succeed, because once you succeed, all will celebrate with you, right? So a lot of work will be put into preparing our little ones for those exams. Tonight's topic, I intend to discuss general issues. I don't have a guest on, and I think I am quite capable enough to explain and elaborate these issues that we're affected by in this country. So the first issue I would like to touch on is the continued accidents we face in our society. Many of us use the roadways on a daily basis, and we see the callous use by others who, they have absolutely no regard for fellow human beings who were also using the roadways. I think just last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a lot of road deaths by way of motorists, motorcyclists, pedestrians. You would recall the Ghana Defense Force, they were conducting a exercise walk on the Linden Soosdijk highway there, on the highway there. And one woman, female sergeant lost her life so recklessly. No fault of hers, no fault of hers. But because of how these truck drivers utilize the roads on a daily basis, it put other road users' life at risk. Sometimes in the roundabout, they're not even giving you the go ahead. They want to overtake you in the roundabout. It seems as though the authorities would have to do some crash courses, some public awareness education, how reminding persons how to use the roundabouts, because you're putting other motorists' lives at risk. And you see, when these accidents occur, people don't realize the amount of strain it puts on the health sector. They don't realize that other families are left to mourn, not for days, not for months, but for years. Because many a times when you have these road accidents, some of those who, were reckless, they go scotch free. They go scotch free. So the pains will always remain with those who lost their loved ones due to the reckless use by others on our roadways. So I was happy to read and also to see that the Honorable Minister of Public Works, Bishop Gwan Ejel, and his team there at the ministry engaging truck drivers. But it's not only the engagement. I mean, you have the road rules and regulations that we must enforce. The police, the Guyana Police Force must do their job. They must do their job. Because, yes, you would say to the truck drivers, you have to ensure this and that is done on our roadways. But at the end of the day, who is there to monitor that they do this and that? It is the police responsibility to be there to ensure that the road rules, whether you gotta drive 60 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, 120 miles per hour, or 100 miles per hour, are enforced. Just before coming on air, I heard through one of the news outlets, I think it's NCM, these electric bikes. This is another dangerous piece of equipment that are being used by persons on our roadways. You got 16-year-old, 10-year-old using these motorcycles, these electric bikes to go to school. Again, a law was passed. A law was passed last year in the National Assembly to have all these electric bikes registered by the 31st or the 29th of December 2023. That was the deadline date. I am, maneuvering on the roadways every single day. And I see how those those who are using these electric bikes, how they maneuver on the roadways. Not only putting themselves at risk, but innocent road users they're putting at risk. So, again, I was happy to see the honorable member engaging these truck drivers. I believe it is time that these truck drivers be given timings when they can use the roadways, because the coalition had that enforced. The coalition had that enforced. I'm trying to remember from what time to what time they were allowed to use. And at that time you hadn't so much trucks on the roadways, right? But predominantly that time it was the sand trucks, but you have more trucks now traversing our roadways. So I believe the time has come for the authorities to look to see how best we can have these trucks, be assigned time to utilize the roadways. Because nights, dead midnight, if you're on the road now, you'll see what's happening on the East Bank and East Coast corridor. And it's not to say that they're taking their time to drive. They're speeding, again, putting other person's life at risk, right? The other issue I want to highlight here this evening is the constant blackout. I'm in studio this evening, live. But the only way this program could have come live here this evening is that the channel is actually using the backup system to provide electricity so I can do what I have to do here this evening. The area is out of electricity. And the sad thing about what is happening here in Guyana is that the government continues to shy away from the fact that they're incapable They're incapable, they're incompetent in monitoring or managing the affairs at the Gather Power Light Inc. I know my colleagues, Honorable David Patterson, who has responsibility for this sector, he has spoken at the nauseam where this situation is concerned. The leader of the opposition too shared his concern. All Guyanese, and you know what is the sad thing, and I think David brought it out in one of his appearances on a program, is that when the coalition was in government, you know, the private sector used to talk up and mouth up at everything. Now that the People's Progressive Party Civic is in government, and they have, because the private sector got to remember, they're into business to make profits. And if they're faced with constant blackouts, obviously they wouldn't be able to make a day's profit that they might set as their targets, right? But you're not hearing them calling out the government to fix the situation at GPL. The situation is not so much about the staff, you know. It is the management, and I'm going to get to that shortly. It is the management that the People's Progressive Party Civic handpicked. It's all about friends, families, and cronies. And when we highlight these things, they always got some negative or vile response to make about opposition members. But it is the fact. We told you exactly what we did. And Guyanese, you ought to remember that the People's Progressive Party Civic had 23 years in this country. They had 23 years from 1992 to May 2015. From October 1992 to May 2015, 23 years. And they couldn't get it right in those 23 years. We went from Ghana, I think it was Ghana Electricity Corporation, and I think some new, I'm trying to remember the other name before you get to this GPL Inc. So with all the changes in the name of the company, still the government of the day cannot solve the problems, because you know why? They just don't know what to do. But when the coalition came to government, and it is good for me to remind you, I'm going to read this letter that was done by my colleague, Mr. David Patterson, to remind you what we inherited in May of 2015, what we fixed during our tenure in office, and where we at. Right? That's what I'm going to do. So, dear editor, I have noted that the infallible ones are at it again. This time the president was reported to have said, and I quote, I'm quoting, he has quoted, "We inherited a system that was in total collapse. We are rebuilding that system," unquote. This is in response to the total abysmal performance by Guyana Power and Light Inc., GPL. Nothing can be further from the truth. So, as I have done on numerous occasions, permit me the opportunity to restate the facts once again. Management of GPL. That's one fact. In 2015, the former PPP administration had lost confidence in the then CEO, Bharat Dindyal, refusing to renew his contract. In a report prepared by GPL's board dated December 22nd, 2014, his performance was listed, quote unquote, below expectations. Not the coalition saying this. The board, the then board in 2014 under the People's Progressive Party Civic, stated that Dindial's performance was below the expectations, right? On assuming office, the coalition administration's appointed board of GPL launched an international recruitment exercise spearheaded by the internationally renowned firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers Advisory Services Limited, who, after extensive interviews, recommended the appointment of Albert Gordon. I hear David say he never meet this man. He never talked to this man before. But you see what the coalition did? We went an international farm. We didn't handpick. Oh, you voted, you supported AP and UAFC in 2015, so we could just handpick you and put you to run a critical organization called the Ghana Power Light Company. A CARICOM national with extensive experience in the power utility sector. And this man came from Jamaica. Albert Gordon came from Jamaica. On assumption of duties, Mr. Gordon commenced reorganizing and revitalizing the then ailing company. On their return to office in 2020, the PPP dismissed Mr. Gordon. And who they brought back? The same man who the board rejected in 2014, December 22nd, 2014, who said his performance was below expectation, is the same man they brought back. So what you expected? What you expected, everything went back. Everything retrogressed rather than progressing. So they dismissed Mr. Gordon with immediate effect and returned to the previous below expectation CEO. Talking about doing the same things, yet expecting a different results. You know, I think it was Albert Erstein who made this quote. You're doing doing the same thing with the expectation of getting different results. You can't do the same thing and expect different results. Right? The second issue, generation of power. The GPL's board report on the performance of the previous CEO stated that GPL has over the last few years written off 10 generator sets which were destroyed due to poor operation, catastrophic failure due to the lack of proper maintenance and fire. That was the status of the GPL generating capacity in 2015. During the next 4 years, GPL under the coalition administration procured 63 megawatts of brand new generating sets, increasing the generating capacity of the company by 50%. A never before seen expansion in generating capacity in such a short period with no oil money. With no oil money, we were able to improve the generating set to 50%. Right? In contrast, that to the PPP's 4 years, the company has procured 17 third-hand containerized sets of unknown quantity and procurement methodology. 5 months after this purchase, only 4 sets are operational. It is understood the remaining sets have several defects, which have rendered them ineffective, a prime example of poor technical management. Transmission. The above-mentioned GPL's board report stated that there was low utilization of planned budget, poor planning, thus resulting in frequent blackouts due to the lack of maintenance to the company's transmission and distribution infrastructure. Remember, all of these things linked to 2014, the board report of 2014. During the coalition, and then we're showing the coalition tenure, right? During the coalition's tenure, 300 km of high voltage transmission lines were repaired or upgraded. 16 km of new feeder cables were installed. The express Feeders on the Demerara Berbice Interconnected System (DBIS) were completely upgraded. A new submarine cable linking Vreden Hoop and Princess Street was installed. PPP wouldn't tell you all of this because remember, the blaming the coalition government. But as we have our narrative to tell, and we have to tell our narrative, right? Good. 486 km of new secondary distribution lines were installed. 19 km of secondary distribution lines were upgraded. 87,717 service lines were replaced. 502 new transformers were installed and 2,292 defective transformers were replaced. 4 years on, with 5 times the annual budget, the PPPC's GPL has not achieved a quarter of these milestones. Future development plans in 2018 via the Ministry of Finance gain access to US $900 million line of credit from the Islamic Development Bank. The first request to utilize these funds was a loan of US $110 million for GPL to construct new substations, a new additional transmission and distribution network, as well as upgrading the existing power infrastructure. As expected, on assuming office, the PPP cancelled the loan application without reason. You see, it's not a negotiated. So, because they negotiated, everything for them is politics. So who eventually suffers? It's the ordinary people like you and I, right? Without a doubt, if this application was allowed to progress to implementation, several of the challenges now facing GPL would have been eliminated. Another example of the government throwing away the baby with the bath water in the name of politics. The status of our power sector remains a matter of national concern. I would readily admit that by June 2020, there were several outstanding challenges still to be resolved. However, the company was heading in the right direction with a very limited budget. With Guyana's increased resources, the importance of this sector to our national development, one would have expected some increased momentum in fixing GPL's problems. In contrast, significant progress has all been reversed in recent years. Instead of seeking to address these challenges, the PPPC administration tries to hide their mismanagement of this sector. They have sought to place all their eggs in a single basket. The elusive Wales Gas to Shore project, which on its current trajectory is likely to become another project failing significantly short of promises and expectations. No amount of plasters, fluff, bluff, fancy speeches, and high-priced PR, they like to, everything for them is PR, propaganda full with lies, will move GPL forward. It is clear that the government is sailing up a creek without a paddle. Solving Guyana's problem requires all citizens to create a meritocracy and facilitate a real democracy. Regards, David Patterson. Sorry that I had to read this lengthy letter, but it gives an insight of what is really what was, what we did, and what is currently happening. And Mr. Dindial, they as David described him, the below expectation CEO, is that I think this goodly gentleman fell ill sometime last year. Rather than you putting a technical man, a technical person to lead the team until you can find a suitable CEO if he has to be replaced, you put a man named Kish Nandalal. Kish Nandalal is the brother of Anil Nandalal, the current Attorney General of Guyana. Kish Nandalal was a former employee, of GPL. An accountant. We know accountants are about fixing books and making monies. But which accountant can fix technical problems? You tell me. So Kish Nandalal resigned, left this country, went somewhere in North America, came back sometime last year, and he's now the team leader. The team leader for the failing Guyana Power and Light Incorporation. If you use the staff, if you do what has to be done, maintain the generators, you can't be working the generators constantly without servicing them. Other than maintaining the generators, there are other major problems facing the company. Good staff that we left resigned because of what? Things weren't going right. They're not listening. The politicians want things go their way. So when the technical people trying to say to them, this is how things got to be done, no, it's either their way or no way. That is why GPL is in the state it is this today. GPL is in the state it is today. You can't bring a doctor and make him an attorney at law. No, doctor got to stick to what he was trained to do. And if the technicians are trained to deal with technical issues and technical matters by right, they're the ones that you have to use. But no, Kish Nandalal, the brother of Attorney General of Guyana, Annette Nandalal, is the team leader. That is what is happening. We had brilliant people at PPDI. Well, PPDI was the name given under the coalition to the Wartstiller company there at Garden of Eden. So it is the Power Producers Distributions Inc. I think it was, yeah. So PPDI was branded under the coalition government. And we had brilliant engineers working out there. You go there now? I heard I got some guy who is heading that unit right now. A clerk who probably moved up some rank to an accountant. So you see where the problem lies? You see where the problem lies? So when Irfan Ali came out sometime last week, April 2nd to be precise, and this is the headline carried by Newsroom. I will read the Riot Act. President says GPL management must be responsive. How they going to be responsive, sir? When they don't know what they're doing. Because they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the expertise, they don't have the competence to run a technical organization. So what you have to do, Mr. Irfan Ali, is to ensure that Kish Nandalal and all the others you have beneath him who are not competent enough to be sent packing, and find qualified and competent people who know about electricity and to run a major energy sector like GPL and have them run that company. If you find the right fit, I believe that things will go better in this country. But you know, as I'm on the energy sector, you know, a manifesto is a public document. A public document that outlines policies, whether for a political party or an individual who is running for an office. And you know, they like to refer to this document to say to Guyanese, you know, the fluff and the bluff and the fancy speeches, as David said in his letter, wouldn't cut it. So what in this manifesto, as they claim 90% of their manifesto promises have been delivered. Now, on page 26, based on the copy that I have before me here, the 2020 manifesto, PPPC manifesto of 2020. This is what they sold to Guyanese. Cheaper and more reliable electricity. Cheaper and more reliable electricity. Energy is key for the economic growth of Guyana and for an improved quality of life for all Guyanese. In the period up to 2015, the PPPC ended the blackout norm of the 1980s. I can't remember that. I know about periods, days you're getting blackout before we came in 2015. So how y'all ended this blackout before 2015? Tell me, Mr. Barajagdio or Mr. Irfan Ali, and restored a sense of normalcy and stability in the provision of electricity to households, businesses, and industry. Generation capacity was installed and increased across the country, on the coast and hinterland, and there was expanded solar power provision in hinterland areas. The Amila Falls Hydro Project was advanced with funds earned from the LCDS and Norway Agreement. Man, look, they should have been ashamed to mention the Amila Falls project. Many of us would recall, viewers and listeners, you give a man, just like this man would have gone running GPL as a team leader right now, you know, nothing. So you give a man US millions in project for this Amila Falls Hydro project. You know the name, people? Flip Motilal. He really flipping. Flip Motilal, a man who never built a hydropower, based on my readings and what I found. A man who never built a road. A man who never installed transmission lines. You awarded this man millions of US dollars to build a hydro plant at Amila Falls. Many times we read that the falls dry up, no running water, because if you're talking about hydro falls, you're talking about, water to push. With all the mechanisms they're going to put in place, water to push electricity. So, and they're coming back with the same thing. They're promising 4 years now, we can get cheaper and reliable electricity. But yet they're coming to say to us, Guyanese, that, we deliver 90% on our promises. Yet they're coming to say to us, Guyanese, that, we're going to still be moving ahead with the Amila Falls project. It seems as though all that these people are interested in is putting their sticky fingers into the cookie jar of taxpayers to get taxpayers' money, to splurge it and to spend it amongst their friends, family, favorites, flatterers, and cronies. That is what they're doing to taxpayers of this country. So I don't know, because as I said before, this is their fourth year. Their fourth year in office. We're heading to an elections in come 2025. And I don't know, they're yet to say to us when they're going to deliver cheaper and reliable electricity. They're talking about gas. To sure, I think David elucidated that well on all the programs that he was on last week. He shared what the coalition idea and what the coalition plan was regarding the whole gas to energy project. Right about now, the project start up. So we don't, I know for a fact that 2025 will come and Guyanese ain't see reliable and cheaper electricity, right? So please, I'm saying all of this to say to you Guyanese, we cannot allow ourselves, you should not allow yourself to be fooled and to be blindfolded by the People's Progressive Party Civic. They're good at propaganda, they're good at lying. The other issue, so we continue to face blackouts on a daily basis in this country. I think earlier in the day, I read that GPL stated, I think it's either 14 more generators, or I think from the 17 that they brought in, they're now connecting 14 more. So I have to do some more research on that to see how effective and whether it will address the current situation that we face here in Guyana. The other issue I want to discuss quickly, this will be my last issue, is that, you know, the Ghana Teachers Union took the government to court. And I think today, as in April 10th, both sides, both lawyers representing the Teachers Union and the government side, and I think Senior Counsel MP Roysdale Ford, he has entered he's representing the Guyana Trade Union Congress, who co-joined with the Guyana Teachers Union. So today both attorneys had to make oral presentations. But again, you know, on this thing with teachers and the conditions of service and looking for collective bargaining and want a reasonable and good salary when the month comes. Again, when I go to the manifesto, you see, this is the People's Progressive Party Civic Guiding Document. This is what they presented to us as Guyanese in 2020 to say that they're going to do X and they're going to do Y. So on page 40 of this manifesto document I have in my hands here, workers' welfare. Viewers, listeners, I want you to hear me out based on what they said, or they're saying. Workers' welfare. Despite their rhetoric, the APNUFC has done little to enhance workers' welfare. They abolished the Ministry of Labor arbitrarily, imposed pay increases to public servants, deliberately bypassed the unions, handled industrial disputes poorly, and made no concerted effort to address workers' conditions, especially on health and safety matters. Well, all Guyana is fully aware of what the coalition record is when it comes to public servants and workers in this country. All Guyana fully aware. But this is what the PPP said they will do. The PPPC will re-establish the Ministry of Labor and strengthen the capabilities of the ministry to address industrial disputes, issues of collective bargaining, issues of collective bargaining. So what did Ghana Teachers Union is asking the government for? They're asking the government to engage them through collective bargaining. But you see, in their own manifesto, they said to this nation that they will engage in collective bargaining. What has occasioned this change, man? What has occasioned this change? Why you don't want collective bargaining? Why you don't want to sit with the teachers' representatives and come up with reasonable solutions for their issues? Why? You stated here at page 40, not me. Not me saying this. This is your words. Improve conditions of service and remuneration for public servants. Huh? In 2020, they gave workers zinc, no increase. 2021, what they got 8%. 2022, what they got 7%. 2023, 6.5%. So in totality, 8 and 7. No, 8 and 7. 15. 15 plus 6. 21.5%. 21.5% in 3 years. And you claimed, you stated in your manifesto that you're going to improve condition of service and remuneration for public servants. Early up in your preamble, you stated that the coalition bypassed the unions. The coalition didn't engage in collective bargaining and what's not. Well, what you did in 2020, in 2021, 2022, 2023, and you continue to do in 2024. What you have done. So don't come fooling people here. Ensure that all Guyanese workers are protected under the law, that foreign companies respect and adhere to the laws of Guyana. Well, I have been receiving many complaints from Guyanese who are working on these ships that they're not getting what is due to them. And they're fearful to go to the Ministry of Labor, because as soon as you go to the Ministry of Labor and you engage labor officers, by the time you meet back to work, a phone call to your employer is already made. So you're being victimized. You're being discriminated. This is what is happening in this country. So don't come and tell us anything differently. Ensure fair recruitment practices. Where this is happening? Where this is happening? I just said to you, my viewers, what is happening at GPL? Did you advertise for a team leader? Did you advertise for a general manager at PPDI? So where is the fairness when it comes to recruitment? This is what you stated in your manifesto. Support trade unions in training and development of workers. Where this is happening, GTU benefiting? Public service benefiting? I don't know if GAWU is benefiting, but tell us which unions are benefiting. Tell us which unions are benefiting. You're so careful for workers' welfare. Show us your track record where these things you said you will do have been done. Continue to uphold workers' rights and respect for the International Labour Law Organization Convention. Man, viewers, the teachers were out in their numbers for 4 weeks. Are you talking about workers' rights and upholding international convention? But the teachers were basically calling for us to come and sit at the bargaining table and discuss better wages and salaries, better working conditions, all of the other benefits that are accrued to them. No. But they had to go out there for 4 weeks, and now the matter is before the court. So don't come sugarcoating to us that you have delivered 90% of your manifesto promises. So my brothers and sisters, this evening, I was able to link the issues I highlighted here to the People's Progressive Party Civic Manifesto to show you that all these outstanding things under, whether it's cheap, reliable electricity, or all the conditions they set out for workers' welfare, they haven't delivered. So how you could complete 90% of this manifesto, man? And these are the things you have to hold this government accountable for. This is what you say you're going to do. This is what they said that they were going to do. And don't forget the big man. The big man, they put it, the barely squeeze it in at the bottom of the map that they have at the front of their manifesto. They barely squeeze it in. Remember that they beating the coalition government left, right, center, up, down, all around about this contract, the oil contract, the oil contract. Well, what they touted and what they said, this is what they stated here in their manifesto: better management / renegotiation of oil contracts for contracts to benefit all Guyanese. So you can come and tell me that 90% of the manifesto has been achieved. So I will I will take 2 phone calls before I know time is on me, before I bring the curtains finally down. The number is on screen: 649-2473. 649-2473. But my brothers and sisters, while I await a call, I must also remind you, we can't escape this thing, with all that is happening in this country, in this country, whether the Venezuela-Guyana situation, whether the teachers union and GTUC in court, and all other things that are happening. We cannot forget budget 2024, 1.146 trillion, because the mere fact we got all these issues at the top, at the forefront, this is how they're going to thief our money. Let me take this first call. Caller, a pleasant evening to you. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Good evening, Sister Annette.
Good evening, my brother.
I appreciate all that you said.
Yes.
But you're still in touch on the topic of the NIS situation that David Granger put in place. Please touch on it for me. I'm a poor man contributing to the NIS, and I think they are depriving people of that benefit.
Yes.
The next point I want to make about the PVP officials is that these people, we must understand, they don't like poor people.
Mm-hmm.
Clear as day. Now, it has nothing to do with race. It's Indian black people, they don't like poor people. They like a certain cabal with a plan to enrich, to control the resources of this country.
Yes.
We have to understand that. And let us lie and believe their own lie.
Yes.
That is clear. And if you're lying from the top, what do you expect to happen?
Mm-hmm.
The top officials that lie their base. What do you expect to happen in this country? That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, caller, for your contribution. And I know indeed earlier today, this very caller called me earlier this afternoon to encourage me to speak on the issue of NIS, the old age pension. You would recall that under the coalition government, and because I didn't make a note of it, but what I recall, and I can research it and come with the accurate information for next week's program. But under the coalition government, before we left office, we were able to increase the NIS old age pension, and I think I had a breakout of it somewhere, right, to show you it was the coalition government that was able to increase the old age pension, the NIS old age pension. I don't have the documentation on me here, but I will flag it for next week's program, caller, and rest assured I'll able to bring the facts and also to remind our listeners and viewers that it was the coalition government that was able to increase the NIS old age pension. Also, I recall penning a letter to the editor highlighting what the coalition did for the pensioners, the NIS pensioners. And by, that, and this was done before budget 2024. And in budget 2024, I was able to see that the government, was able to, one of their measures was to increase the NIS old age pension from, I think it was $35,000, not 35,000 and change, to I think it's 40,000 and something, or 42,000 something. But I'll get the correct figure, caller, and I'll able to analyze it in more detail on my next program. Is there another caller? I know time is on me. So if there's no other caller, yes, as I was saying, viewers and listeners, they with all the issues that we have in this country, we cannot take our eyes off of budget 2024, because I must let you know that in budget 2024, I think there's a provision, this men on mission, this men on mission project, 500 I think million was appropriated in budget 2024. Well, for budget 2023, we had 500 million was approved. But if you were to ask me as a lawmaker, what percentage of that money was expended last year and what the monies were utilized for, I wouldn't be able to tell you. You know why? I remember asking questions in the National Assembly, and I'm going to bring the response, says that were actually provided by ministers of government. Let me just hold my tongue. Caller, pleasant evening to you. Welcome to Let's Talk. Can you lower the volume of your television, please?
Good night. We are talking about the NIS at the top. Those 4-5 years or 4 years, they have not increased. Not the NIS at the bottom. Those people who are at the top. Mm-hmm. Remember, we would have worked hard.
Yes.
And we would have paid more. We're not getting anything extra.
Yes, that's what the caller was referring to earlier when he called me. But what I'm going to do some more analysis on it, and I will provide some more information. So caller, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution. Yes, so as I was saying just before the caller came in, so when you ask the questions, I tell you what, some of the frivolous and silly or cross responses given by sitting ministers of government, you really want to know whether these people really mean business. I can share one classic example with you. They're touting, and they always run with this. And I guess they'll run out of fuel right now, that the coalition government imposed 200 taxes on Guyanese. Imposed 200 taxes. So, I like stop them in the tracks. So I put a question in the National Assembly sometime last year on the 31st of May 2023. And it got on the order paper the 30th of June 2023. This was my question put to the senior minister in the ministry, in the office of the president with responsibility for finance. And we know who that is, Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh. And here reads the question. Well, there is a subhead. Removal of 200 taxes and fees imposed by the coalition government, reported by some members of the government in the National Assembly. The official report, which is the Hansard, dated 17th September 2020, the 24th of February 2021, and the 25th of February 2021, of the Parliament, stated that some members of the government quoted, and I quote here, coalition government imposed more than 200 taxes and fees on Guyanese, unquote. So the question put to the honorable member, Can the Honorable Senior Minister provide a detailed list of the 200 taxes and fines on items as claimed to have been imposed by the coalition government during the period May 2015 to August 2020? This is what the Honorable Member responded by saying. The list of taxes and fees imposed by the APNU AFC government during the period May 2015 and August 2020 has been extensively, you hear what is the operative word here? Extensively reported on and ventilated in the public domain. Now, I simply ask you two things. I ask you two things. One, I ask you to detail a list of the 200 taxes, right? And the fees on items y'all claim that we, placed taxes on. And this is the response from a sitting minister who should be an educated man. But you know why responses like this will come to the National Assembly, viewers and listeners? Because there is no existence. There is no existence of a list of 200 taxes and fees on new items. There is none. But this is what they will continuously put to you, the people, to paint the coalition as bad, as merciless people. That is how they're painting us. So I was happy. I'm really, really happy that I was able to read the letter penned by my colleague David Patterson to show you what is really happening in the energy sector. I have pointed to you the manifesto where promises have been made on certain things and they have not accomplished these things. So don't let it come and tell you the coalition, GPL, falling apart because of the coalition. Well, if GPL is falling apart, believe you me, because of the coalition recklessness, this entire nation would have been in blackout from since 2020 to now, because everything fell apart. Everything fell apart according to them. Right? According to them. So, please, I'm asking you, my viewers and listeners, this is why I take the time to come here. I don't come here and spew lies. I don't come here to sound good or to look good. I come here to educate you. Because our people perish because of the lack of knowledge. And I like imparting knowledge, because that's the only way we can be wise and we would be able to represent with the truth, represent with facts when you hear people speaking differently. So I will continue to do what I'm doing with God's help, to come here and to share with you. So I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening for another episode of Let's Talk with Annette. I also want to thank those who called in and contributed. And I want to remind you that this program, will be rebroadcast on Friday coming day after tomorrow. So if you miss it, you can tune in Friday night. And I will also upload it on my on the page, the YouTube page, Let's Talk with Annette. So once again, I thank you so much for taking the time out, spending this 1 hour with me. And I do look forward to you joining me next Wednesday for another episode of Let's Talk with Annette. May God continue to bless you. May God continue to bless your family. And may God continue to bless our beautiful nation, Guyana. I also want to thank those of you who have join me via my social media platform. Once again, thank you very much, and God's richest blessings to you too. Tata!